Welcome to another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. I'm your host, Keandra Jones. This podcast educates, ignites inspiration, fosters encouragement, and paves the way for growth among small businesses and the overall Oak Cliff community. Today on Strictly Business Unscripted, we're joined by Ken Malcolmson, President and CEO of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce, where Ken has led the chamber for more than 8 years, drawing on decades of experience as a healthcare and health insurance executive. Ken is passionate about strengthening the business community, championing civic engagement, and advancing initiatives that drive growth and opportunity across North Dallas. Outside of this work, Ken enjoys staying active through fitness and exploring new places through travel. Welcome, my friend Ken. How are you?
What a privilege. What a privilege to be with you today, Keandra. You're one of my favorite people, but also we love any collaboration that we can do with the Oak Cliff Chamber of Commerce.
I love that. You know, and there is such a misconception, I believe, out there that chambers don't work well together. And I absolutely adore you and all the work that you do, not only in North Dallas, but the general Dallas as a community, as a city. So thank you for all of the collaboration, all the conversations. I do want to, this is Strictly Business Unscripted, so I want to go off script. And when I was thinking about this interview this morning, I was thinking about the meltdown I had with you many, many years ago when I learned about George Floyd. Do you remember that?
I do. That was a incredibly challenging time for all of us, but I know how much you were struggling, and we felt for you.
Yeah.
We really did.
I just want to say I never got back to saying thank you for being there and being an empathetic ear in that moment. I've never publicly said that, but thank you for that. I know that was a while ago, but
we all felt such pangs of just frustration and anger and disappointment, but I could not relate the way you could relate, and as a result, I was trying to be as empathetic as possible, and it was an amazing time.
Yeah,
it really was.
It was, and I just appreciate your friendship.
Thank you.
I really do. I really do. So, a few questions for you to get going.
Do you mind if I go back on something you mentioned?
Please.
Since we are unscripted.
Yeah.
So we were talking about collaboration.
Yes.
And you've been involved with the North Texas Commission as well as we have. I have the great privilege of serving on that board right now. But we have borrowed a phrase that's used at the North Texas Commission. It's actually on their wall there, and it was created by someone that you knew very well as Joe May, the former chancellor of Dallas College.
Yeah.
And his favorite adage was, "Autonomy is our worst enemy." And so that's what we believe in real strongly at our chamber, is that we believe that in collaborating and partnering, we can not only become more efficient in how we deliver our services, but we can also amplify our voice. And that's really what it's all about. We're all too small to have huge impact, for example, at the state legislature. But if we all speak together, we can have a profound impact.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I love
really
that.
is. Yeah, but that's the mantra that we live by in our chamber, is that there's rarely an event or program that we do that we don't try to partner with somebody.
Yeah. And it shows. It shows. I'm going to take a few steps back and let's talk about how you actually got into doing this work. You had a totally different career. You were doing something else, minding your own business. What did you do in your previous professional life? And then walk us through how you became who you are to the North Dallas Chamber.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the question. So I had a 40-year career in healthcare, health insurance, with companies like Aetna and Cigna and Express Scripts. And my last 10 years, I was the regional CEO for Humana for the western third of the country. And it was a very rewarding career, and in effect, I retired from that. But I'd always had a passion for civic engagement, for being involved in our community, mainly driven by my parents, who were very, very active in their communities, our communities growing up in Chicago. And driven by that. And I also read a book that I've commend to anyone that's interested. It's particularly suited for people in their 40s, but it's called Halftime. And it was by a renowned Dallasite by the name of Bob Buford, who has since passed away. But Bob wrote this book, and it's about, the subtitle is, How Do You Go From Being Successful to Being Significant? And so it's designed to allow you to take stock of where you are in your life at the, quote, halftime of your life. And so that really had a profound effect on me as well. When I read that book, I shifted a lot of my focus away from my energy being focused on creating a higher earnings per share for Humana versus trying to be engaged in the community and making a difference in the community through various board roles and things like that. So that's what drove me this direction. And then I'd always I had never been on the board of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce, but I always had a staff member that had been on the board of the North Dallas. So I was very familiar with the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce. I actually was an 8-year board member of the Dallas Regional Chamber. And so in any event, very familiar with the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce. And when this opportunity came up, I just said, this sounds like a great way to kind of be a capstone for my career. And so, and it's been incredibly rewarding, as you know, how rewarding it is to have such a strong relationship with the business community and try to make a difference for that business community.
Yeah, you've done such a tremendous job being there. I've been here since '07. And I remember when you came to the North Dallas Chamber, my predecessor, Bob Stimson, he told me, he said, watch this. Watch the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce. Now that Ken is there, we're going to watch it. And he's never steered me wrong. And it's just something to watch. You lead so amazingly, and I see you everywhere. How do you do that? How do you go out and... How are you always out there? I struggle with balancing all of it.
Yeah, well, I'm very fortunate that I have 2 grown sons that don't require my time.
Okay.
So they are amazing, and they don't even live in Dallas area. They live in Phoenix and L.A. And then my wife and I were both very active, both from a business perspective, but also from a social perspective. And then that harkens back, I hate to keep going back in time, but harkens back to early in my business career that we had a mantra that we lived by then. It was called show up on time, dress to play. And so so I've kind of believed in that, and I think that half of our success comes from just simply showing up. Just showing up. And if you're there, people recognize you, and they don't recognize me. They recognize the chamber. I'm representing the chamber. And so I think that's what's, I think, where the value is just being there, being out there.
You know, that really resonates with me because I struggle with the show up sometimes. It's the pull in so many different directions. As for instance, last night I needed to be in 4 places at the same time.
Yep.
And
I'll bet. That's
and
right.
so it's just such a dance that you seem to do so very well.
Well, that's nice of you to say, but yes, it is a dance. But and when you have the interest and energy, and if you're an extrovert, you know, it feeds on itself and everything else.
Yeah.
But now it's a rare evening where we don't have something going on.
Yes.
You know, and you sit at home for a night. Nah, it's not very
Doesn't happen
frequently.
often. Yeah.
No, that's for sure.
So, in your opinion, what sets North Dallas apart from other areas in this city?
Sure. So I think maybe it requires a little bit more of an explanation.
Okay.
We, and you've met our Chief Operating Officer, Jeff Kittner,
Yes.
who is amazing. He also is not a chamber person. He came from the legal profession. He was a 16-year partner and litigator at Jackson Walker,
Okay.
and but was passionate about civic engagement as well. And he and I have kind of partnered over the last 7 years. But Jeff, what we say, we've been working very diligently to try to, and I don't want to use the word minimize, but de-emphasize the word north in our name. Because we spend a lot of our energy on how do we work with all aspects of the city.
Yeah.
And it's the city of Dallas and Dallas County. And so that's where we spend our energy in terms of connections. We try to know and work with all of our city councilmen, for example, and all of our state legislators throughout the whole area, instead of just focusing on the northern part of the city. We're a 71-year-old chamber, not as old as Oak Cliff, but we're a 71-year-old chamber, and North will likely be part of our name forever because of the legacy.
Right.
But it's not a good descriptor of where we focus. We spend, as you know, because we've partnered with you in the past, but we spend a lot of time on the north-south divide, and the fact that 85% of our tax revenues come from north of I-30, and yet 2/3 of our beautiful geography is south of I-30. And so how do we fix that? And so we spend a lot of time and energy on things like that. So historically, north meant downtown Dallas, north up to kind of the Plano border. We serve as a de facto chamber for Addison as well. We had ill-defined east and west borders, but we really haven't focused on that during my tenure at the chamber. We've been focusing on all of Dallas.
Ken, once again, you're my hero. I love that, because there is that divide that's here, and I absolutely hate it. It's like our North Oak Cliff folks want to make sure there is a distinction made between North Oak Cliff versus South Oak Cliff, and it is such a challenge because we are to provide, it's just divisive. It's just divisive. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And so I am very impressed, and I knew that about you, that you guys are not focused on just North Oak Cliff. And so thank you for saying that. So you've been in the chamber world. You've said that you and both Jeff are now at the chamber, but your previous lives you've done other things. What would you say are some of the key reasons that, for folks that don't know, what are some of the value, what is the value in joining a chamber of commerce, and then specifically your chamber?
So what when you boil it all down, I think we're there to promote engagement, engagement in our communities, right? That's I think what all chambers really are there for, and every chamber might do it. Chambers may do it differently, but for example, the Dallas Regional Chamber, one of their great strengths, and let's face it, they are an amazing chamber of commerce. In fact, they're the National Chamber of the Year. But one of their great strengths is economic development.
Yes.
And particularly proactive economic development. We don't spend any time on economic development. I mean, other than, little one-offs every once in a while, just that are very specific to an area. But they do that so well that why should we spend our time doing that?
Right.
We can narrow our service portfolio down to 3 things. That's all we really do.
Okay.
And I'm, other than empowered, you pretty much are the same way as we are, I think. Our three legs of our stool are content. So it's an extensive amount of programming that we do to promote engagement. So it's informing people about what's going on in our community, and these are important issues that you need to be aware of. Interestingly, we do upwards of 150 events and or meetings a year, and so it's a constant flow. Our calendar is full, and of those 150, 14 of them are major conferences that really draw large crowds of people that we can't accommodate in our building, for example. The second part of our service portfolio is advocacy, same thing you do, and it's all around ensuring that we have relationships at all levels of government, municipal, state, and federal, and that we not only have those relationships, but that we participate in advocating for pro-business issues and opposing ones that aren't pro-business. So, and then the last piece of it is what we call connections. Some people say, well, that's just networking or whatever. This is way beyond networking.
Right.
This is about connecting people.
That's right.
And that happens during our programming. It happens during the advocacy efforts. But if someone calls us, one of our members, or we actually don't call them members, we call them stakeholders. And so because it's a much broader array of people in that boat. But we, if one of our stakeholders calls Jeff or me and says, can you introduce me to Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne? The answer is going to be, well, yes, of course, because that's what we do. That's our job. Yeah. And they have an issue, we got to put you together. And so those are the kinds of things that we think are critically important, and that's around the connections piece. So.
My goodness. Okay, so 150 events, including meetings and all the things. I don't know if folks truly understand how in the world, with only, 52 weeks in a year, is that right?
So it's 3 meetings a week.
So, and with a team, how large is your team?
7.
7 people to pull that off. So it's just a miracle. You just have a really good relationship with God to be able to do all of that.
Thank you for saying that, and I hope that's the case. But the other thing that we do is we lean heavily on our board.
Okay.
We have a very engaged, very impressive 70-person board.
Wow.
And it's large intentionally for that purpose. And we lean on them for helping us plan all of our conferences and our meetings and things like that. And then we also have a very engaged group of ambassadors, and they typically represent smaller companies or middle market companies, but they are very engaged as well. They're kind of the heart and soul of our chamber, and as a result, we look at that as our ambassadors and our board as extensions of our staff.
Okay, that is impressive. 70-plus person board of directors. It's very, very impressive.
It's really important for us to have a large board. Let's be honest. Our board is what generates most of the revenue for the chamber, and as a result, that's why we can put on the kind of programming that we put on.
Love that. So, in terms of advocacy, what are some things that the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce is currently advocating for?
Well, there's a lot of things, and I think it's probably very similar to you. We've had a long history in infrastructure, in the whole world of transportation, particularly dating back to our founding as a chamber in 1954. So there's a lot of things in the infrastructure world, and when we think about infrastructure, it's not just transportation and roads, but it's also things like access to broadband. It's also reliability of the grid, and it's also water. And so we've spent a lot of time advocating on behalf of entities to ensure that we have all of those resources. Housing affordability, we all know that. I mean, and the housing crisis that we're all in right now, this is a big challenge that we've spent a lot of time on. Something that you're really good at, and that's helping create a engaged talent pipeline. And so that's ensuring that. So in the education space, we spend a lot of time working with our partners in that arena. But let me give you a specific example of something that we've been working on very hard. Jeff Kittner has taken the lead on that. Our great strategic advisor, Luisa Del Rosal. Do you know Luisa?
I don't.
Okay, well, Lisa, you need to know her. She's amazing. But the two of them have worked really hard on this. But we took a position that said we're we're just so distraught about our lack of voter engagement in this city. And we can't continue on this direction. So we've taken a position that we are advocating in favor of moving municipal elections from May of odd years to November of odd years, to get people in the mindset that every November I'm going to go to the poll.
Right.
And I'm gonna vote every November.
Yes.
And hopefully that could help us. Well, that, and it also saves the city a lot of money, because it's like $450,000. So we think that that's really needs to happen. It hasn't been approved by City Council. It has been approved by the state legislature.
Okay.
It hasn't been approved by City Council yet, but we expect it to be approved by City Council. And if that's the case, then we will likely have our next municipal election, instead of in May of 27, it would be in November of 27.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And then the last pillar that you talked about was being able to connect individuals and businesses. What are a few key connections that you've made that you're most proud of?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, I pride myself in just trying to stay connected at all levels. You know what? If you don't mind, I'm going to back up for a second.
Please.
And then I'll come back to that,
Please.
if you don't mind. It just reminded me of something.
Okay.
You know Charles Elk.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
he's renowned here in the community. Charles is kind of the face of Encore
Yes.
here in the entire Dallas area. But he serves on our board and is a past board chair. And one day he said to us that I thought it was pretty profound. He said, you know, when I think of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce, I think of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce as being the most inclusive chamber. And when he was talking about that, he wasn't necessarily relating to gender or race or ethnicity. He was more thinking about sizes of companies, types of companies. Everyone is welcome. And so our board is primarily large companies, much like the DRC board or anything else. But the beneficiaries of that are a lot of small and middle market companies. And the types of industries, types of companies that are represented is just amazing. So going back, it's just, I spend a lot of my time, just like you do, is really trying to stay connected to the people that really have significant influence in this community. And as a result, I think that helps us stay relevant. Because people, again, they're not looking at necessarily me, they're looking at me as a representative of the chamber. And I think that helps our image in the marketplace.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all of our city council members. We spend a lot of time with them. I love our mayor. Eric's, I think, just a great human being. And so we do an annual mayor's breakfast with the mayor, and it's just always been a fantastic event. About 350 people show up for that, and do that in January each year. And we'd love to have you come some year.
I'd love that. I'd love that. You guys do events well. You really do.
you.
You do a really great job at that. So, Ken, why is it important for the community to be engaged civically?
Well, so we're all feeling it. Elections have consequences.
That's right.
And don't complain to me if you don't go vote.
That's right.
You know, I'm sorry. But so, yes, it's overwhelming. We all know that. It's overwhelming, the number of choices you have to make. I struggle personally. I mean, as engaged as I am, and as you are, and as Jeff Kittner is, we struggle with which judges are we going to vote for. And so we spend a lot of time trying to help people through that process. But the point is that if we don't change that dynamic, you know, when 6.5% of our electorate are electing, actually, it's half of that elect our officials. So it's like 3.5%, because, you know, that it only takes 3.5% of a general election to win, and especially in these elections that go to runoffs.
Yeah.
So we've got to change that dynamic. We've got to get more people interested and engaged. It also leads to another factor that when you measure civic engagement, it's the other key component is volunteerism. And Dallas is not known for having great volunteerism.
That's right.
And we've got to change that dynamic too. Every nonprofit in the city can use support. Chambers can use support. We all need more people to be engaged in this process of making sure that we've got great governance and we've got a great community that's working together in these public and private partnerships.
That's right. That's right. So we've discussed kind of why it's important. And let's say, for instance, someone is watching and they feel convicted and they're like, oh my God, he's talking about me. I've not done anything to be involved, be it from an individual standpoint or even representing their respective business. What should someone do just to get started being involved?
There's so many ways. Go to your closest chamber. That's the obvious one. But there's just so many ways to engage in the community, and we all know them. You and I, it's kind of the back of our, no problem. We know all these places, but that it does require a little bit of research. But we have great respect for groups like the League of Women Voters, and talk about a great organization to get engaged with. And it's nonpartisan, so you're not going into a echo chamber of opinions or anything like that. But there's just a multiplicity of organizations like that are out there in the marketplace. I love being involved with the North Texas Commission. I love being involved with the Dallas Regional Chamber. I love being involved with the Dallas Citizens Council. I love being involved with the Oak Cliff Chamber and many others, by the way, many other chambers too. So these are things that I think give you a perspective that you wouldn't necessarily get, and they all have a little bit different slant. So lots of opportunities.
Ken, what is one thing that you do? Because, again, I see you everywhere. You're everywhere. You're doing all the things, the salesmanship club. How many things are you involved in? I mean, before I get to the last question.
I'm on way too many boards. I need to start shedding a few.
I mean, you are everywhere. What? I do not. You must be cloned. There must be several of you.
Well, the ones I'm most passionate about is I'm current board chair of the YMCA of Metro Dallas.
Okay.
So you're very familiar with the Moreland family, Oak Cliff Chamber. Oak Cliff Y. That's one of our 17 branches that we have in the DFW metro area, and we're about ready to grow that footprint a little bit further. But that's been a joy. Are you familiar with the Park South Y?
I am not, no.
Okay. It's not part of Oak Cliff, but it is in historic South Dallas, and it's in the Queen City neighborhood over there. And we had a relatively poor shape, kind of almost a derelict building there for 50-plus years. And we literally went in and tore the building down and rebuilt it from scratch. And it is beautiful new facility, and we just opened it back in June.
Okay.
It's just spectacular, and we're so proud of it. You need to get up and take a look at it.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
That's I'm very passionate about that. I'm very passionate about the Momentous Institute, which is the beneficiary of the Salesmanship Club of Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about higher ed. I'm very engaged at my alma mater, which happens to be SMU. And then I'm also currently serving on the executive board of UTD as well.
Okay.
So and then I could go on and on. I don't want to bore you with all the other ones, but those are the kinds of things that I think offer me an opportunity to really kind of give back from a volunteerism perspective.
Yeah. So with all that you do, and as we can tell, it is a lot, and there's more that you can, as you said, continue to tell us about. When you retire, what would you like for your legacy to have been?
Well, first of all, I hope I never retire.
Okay, that's fair.
But that's coming sooner than it should probably. But I feel like I can contribute. Continue to contribute even after I retire from work, from the chamber, for example. But no, that's a great question. I'd like to think that we did a credible job of promoting engagement in the community, and then I'd also like to think that I've had an impact on people's attitude about making a difference in the community versus just simply slogging through the day and getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
I hearken back to my corporate days, particularly in the last decade of it. I think to myself, I didn't wake up every day thinking about how I'm going to increase earnings per share for my company. I really had shifted my focus on how do I take these 500 employees that I was responsible for and say, how do we put them in a position where they can really make a difference, and then also then contribute to the community at the same time. So it's a mindset change, and it's hard. It really is, particularly because I remember in my youth, relative youth, 20s and 30s, when I was working, everything was about trajectory.
Yeah.
Everything was about going up.
Yeah.
I wanted more power. I wanted more authority.
Yeah.
I wanted more money.
Yeah.
I wanted more.
Right.
And at some point you step back and go, there's much more to life than that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm so fortunate to be able to have had such a great career, business career, but yet have this opportunity to work in the chamber world.
So, this is my last question, I think. How do you decompress?
Well, I have an incredible wife, and we have a great life together because we have very similar interests. We're both fitness focused, and then we're also just have a passion for travel. She has a great way of saying it. She said, "It's time and money. How do you are you compatible relative to how you spend your time and spend your money?" And that's, we are very compatible from that perspective. So that's how we decompress. I like to say that we catch up and do some binge watching every once in a while, but it's very rare, but we still do, and it's great. But yeah, if I didn't go to the gym this morning for an hour and a half before coming here, I would not be decompressed.
Okay.
That would be really challenged right now.
Understood.
So, but that's the kind of thing that keeps me motivated.
For anybody that's watching, what is one thing that you would like for them to take away from today's show?
Well, I can't emphasize it enough, and it sounds so redundant, but would love people to become engaged in the community. And it doesn't matter how you do it, just spend time, spend some of your valuable time. I get it, it's very valuable, but spend some of your time trying to understand the big issues that are facing our community, and how can we help solve some of those big issues.
I love that. And if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Just come to the ndcc.org. Let me just recommend, go to ndcc.org and go right to the calendar. They can get in touch with me through ndcc.org, but go to our calendar, and I think, like you described earlier, you'll be surprised to see it is full.
Yeah.
I mean, it is full. And some of the programming we have this fall into January, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
It really is. Some of our speakers, and we have our big annual education forum coming up next week, which will have 2 keynote speakers.
Okay.
One will be Jim Keyes, who's the former CEO of 7-Eleven and Blockbuster, and he's just written a book called Education is Freedom. We'll have a panel discussion with the superintendents of the DISD and the RISD, as well as Chancellor Lannon from Dallas College. And then our second keynote speaker will be Dr. Shiloh Brooks, who's a name that many people might not know today, but you will. He's the brand new CEO of the Bush Presidential Center. He's just coming in. He started right here at the beginning of this month, and this will be his first speech in Dallas. And so we're really looking forward to it. And he's coming to us from Princeton University.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's just an example of the programming that we have coming up in the fall.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We really are. And we're partnering with you, I think, we're going to help promote your transportation
Yes.
summit coming up here. And we're doing our Transportation Crossroads Conference on November 21st, and yours is about that same time, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Man, Ken, thank you so much for being here today.
What a privilege. What a privilege. It's always great to see you, Keandra.
You
it really
too.
Is.
You too. You're one of the most genuine people I've ever met in my whole life.
Thank you. That's so nice of you to say.
I love that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Strictly Business Unscripted. I'm your host, Keandra Jones. And again, thank you for watching another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. We'll see you next time.